It's Anthony with Land Title. I wanted to bring you your Boulder County Market update for the month of October. And here's our big report. So what we're really seeing here in the marketplace is a dramatic slowdown from the buyer side, right? So under contracts are down to 326, but because sellers are so apt to not sell as well because of all those golden handcuffs that they seem to have with low interest rates, our supply side has really not changed too much. You'd expect supply to rise this time of the year. But with seller behavior coupled with this buyer behavior, things seem to be looking pretty stable. So let's take a look over at our supply specific line here, and you can really see it varies city to city pretty dramatically, right? As a whole, year over year, we're down about 10% in inventory from this time last year, but submarket to submarket, look at this. These top three, Boulder, Erie, and Lafayette, are up 26, 27% in inventory. The latter half of the market is all down 10+%. So it really just it depends mostly on where you are in the marketplace and how this is affecting you. So what does that really mean as a buyer or a seller? I think that's a key here is we have 3.2 months of inventory. It still feels like a seller's market in a lot of ways, but it's getting a little bit more towards balance. And I would say it probably feels a lot like balance because sellers are having to give concessions because of interest rates and just due to other things. And there just are not a lot of buyers out there. So in a lot of ways, it does feel like a balanced market. And that's definitely what we're seeing. So you can see most markets at this point are well over 2 months and some into 3 months of inventory. Boulder specifically is nearing 4 months of inventory, which is where we would consider it a balanced market. Days in MLS, this is the speed of the market. So active to under contract time, we've been bouncing around right around 35 days for a while now, right? For the last 3 months, for the entire third quarter, this is the time where things are just taking a while to sell. But honestly, this is still really fast. If you look historically at all, 35 days in MLS is a fast time period to sell real estate. So how much has it changed realistically? Look at Boulder. Average days in MLS last month were 24. It's a lot less than where it was last year, but that's not the same for all of these markets. A lot of them year over year have changed in a very different direction. Longmont, Niwot, get out into Superior or Erie, things are definitely rising a little bit faster. So that's what we've been seeing on that front. Now, if we look by price point, so price point is the one that this is where we're seeing the biggest hit due to interest rates, right? You can really see it from like 2 million on down to like $1 million. Right, in Boulder County, where in that vein, you really have seen just less buyers be able to qualify, and it's creating issues. I mean, basically, it just depends on what's going on in each segment, but the 2 to 2.5 million market looks remarkable. So people putting a lot of money down and people, purchasing those kind of homes are doing well. You're really starting to see the luxury end start to slow down. 2.5 to 3 million only had 2 sales last month. That's quite the anomaly from where we were earlier in the year. That's really starting to feel a slowdown. The 3+ million market is finally starting to slow as well. I mean, it was gangbusters for like 6 or 7 months this year. So now that we're starting to see that drop, you have a year to date of 20% less sales now in that market. So inventory stacking up in the luxury end, the lower end of the market where our first time home buyers might be, that seems to be, doing really well still. And that middle of the market is where you're really feeling the squeeze by the cost of money. And you can see it here again in our month supply of inventory and days on market. The latter part of the market, 2.5 months of inventory. You get into that 3 range once you get over 800,000 to 1.5 million. And if you get over 2 million, you're starting to be in a buyer's market, and it just is tough, right? So you can see this across the board, 30, 40 days in MLS. It's just taking a little bit longer to sell than we've seen in past. But ever since the last couple of years, right? Get through the unicorn years, the pandemic, all that stuff. It was just a really fast-paced market. So look at 2018, 2019, and we're still actually faster market than we were then. All right, so let's skip that sold analysis. I'll talk to you about it in just a second. Let's look at our average sales price slide. I think this is a good one to talk. Just kind of year-over-year change, trailing 12-month percentage change. The market's, pulled back just a little bit from its insane peak that we saw in 22, and we've really seen it constrict just a hair. But then look at how stable the Boulder County market is. Look at this. Trailing 12 months, over the last 12 months, it's been down by maybe 2% on average across most of these marketplaces. So that being said, Boulder County is super resilient, and I think resiliency and stability in this marketplace is definitely one of the biggest benefits, right? So that's why people are always moving here, while we don't have to worry too much about it. Now, our sold units of inventory, this is a sold analysis for the entire year. You can see it better by month with those last year versus this year lining up. We're down 16%. We're trending closer to where Denver Metro was than where we were before. They were like 24, 25% down. We were only 14. We're starting to catch up a little bit because the month of September was a pretty big void and a lot slower than most of us would have expected. That year-to-date change across most of these cities, though, we're talking 11 to 20%, right? So a little bit slower market. It might feel a little bit more like 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, but definitely not the slowest market we've ever seen. We're just coming off of such high highs that it's hard to kind of gauge that. Our percentage sold price to list price, let's look at this one. Our detached single family home, 98.3% listed sale price. That means that when a home is on the market and goes under contract, that point in time is where that's factored. So from the time it gets an offer through all of that period, they're getting 98.3% listed sale price. Now, the thing that this doesn't take into account, it doesn't take into account price reductions if there are some on the front end, and it doesn't take into account what's going on in the back end, which are seller concessions. And at land title, about 45% of every transaction right now has seller concessions. So this is a little misrepresented. You can see by price range, though, you get into that range where I was telling you that 1 to 2 million range. People are taking a little bit of a haircut there, right? And we're talking 97, 96%. Up in the luxury range where it's a much more of a buyer's market, you're seeing the same thing, 97%. Expect that to continue to trail down just a little bit through the end of the year. But honestly, this is a very stable market. Sometimes I talk to the people in the mountain markets, and this is about the peak of their season. So when you see this, I think stability, right? Boulder County is always very resilient. So if you have any other questions, you want to look at any other market data, I'm Anthony at Land Title. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.